Hello, folks. Welcome to a Saturday Q&A. Today we will be talking about seller financing and no down payment options. So I'm just waiting to see who's here. So far, nobody. I've received. Okay, Chris is here. Hey, Chris. And Jackie's here. Hello, Jackie. How are you? And Sorten's here. Hey, Sorten. Is your name Sorten, or is it something else? Hey, Stan. How are you? Okay. So far, I've received a couple of questions by email. And while you're thinking about the questions you're going to ask, we'll just read them because they're a little bit long. So I'll read them and answer them. The first question, you can enter your questions in the chat. So don't wait for me. So the first question is I'm from Carlos. Actually, all three questions are from Carlos. Many, and this is about the video I posted yesterday. The first question is: many of your recommendation, like ask the seller what they want to do after they sell the property, seem very difficult if I am working with a real estate agent who's communicating with another real estate agent. What are your thoughts regarding working with an agent? This is, I assume this is about the installment seller financing. My first thought would be to train your agent to ask those questions. Now, the seller's agent may answer them, or they may not, because they really should not be disclosing their seller's motivation to sell. However, my personal experience is they often do. So it doesn't hurt. Your agent can ask the question. They may get an answer or not. It doesn't hurt to ask them. A better way, if you're interested in seller financing, is in installment sale. Go to for rent, look for properties that are for rent in realtor.com, in Zillow, and just approach those sellers, not sellers, but landlords directly, and ask them if they're willing to sell the property. Evidently, they don't need the money immediately because they're already renting. And so the next question would be, well, would you be willing to sell it? And so if they're willing, then you can just continue negotiating. And since your agent would not be a procuring cost, then you don't have to, you can pay them commission, but you don't have to. So the second question is, once a seller agrees to seller financing, how is it implemented? For example, does a title company take care of the details? When does title transfer? What things should we pay attention to? For example, taxes, and are taxes and homeowners association getting paid? Seller financing, again, if we're talking about installment sale, is exactly the process is exactly the same as you would as normal sale. The only difference is the seller is carrying the mortgage and not the bank. Basically, you're getting the money from the seller and not from the bank. Everything else happens exactly the same way. A title company, once you have a contract and you have the note that should be prepared by a lawyer, and you can submit all those documents to the title company, and they take over. You become immediately the owner of the property, and of course you'll be responsible for homeowner association and everything else. Generally, seller installment sales, those are loans that are amortized over 30 years, but they are due generally. There is a balloon payment in 5 to 10 years. So this is not a long-term strategy. It may be, depends what the seller needs. If they want like a long-term, if they just want to get mailbox money, that's great. So there is another way, though, installment sale is done, and I've used it to buy land, and that's land contract. With land contract, you make payments and you have equitable interest in the property, but you become the owner once the last payment is made. So that's another way you can structure this. And in that case, you don't need a title company. You just need a good lawyer to write the land contract. And if you trust the seller, and you can even, you can download it online. There are plenty of companies that sell those contracts. In this case, you also, the homeowner association and taxes, because you are the owner, maybe you don't have the deed, but you are the owner. So you have to pay taxes and homeowner association fees. Okay, and the third question is, I'm interested in the difference between a verbal offer and a written one. Recently, I made an offer in a condo, and my realtor insisted on making a verbal offer first. My thought was to present a written offer regardless. What are your thoughts on this? Well, you're right. It's always best to present a verbal offer, not verbal, but written offer. And the reason for that is verbal offer just sounds, especially if you're making a lowball offer. It's just doesn't sound seriously. Imagine if you are the seller and you get, your agent says, hey, somebody wants to offer 100,000. Would you take it? No. Do I know who that buyer is? No, I don't. What do I know about this offer? Nothing. I don't know who that person is. Should I trust them? Should I not trust them? So that's the reason why you should always present a written offer. Granted, verbal offers are a lot less work for the agent, but they should earn their keep. So always present a written offer this way, and insist. Sometimes you get like sellers, agents who don't want to present the offer. If it's too low, they don't want to even present it to their sellers. They have an obligation to do so, so insist that they do it. So that's my answer to that question. And okay, so let's go on and see. The Stan is asking, are subject to deals legal? Subject two is when you're taking over the mortgage from is that you're taking over the payments actually of the seller without the lender's knowledge. Basically, that's what's happening. And this is used when people are kind of in a pre foreclosure, maybe, or they don't have equity, so they really don't care. To just want somebody to take over the payments. It's not illegal. However, most mortgages have due on close, meaning that once the property is sold, the mortgage, the lender has the right to request full payment. Most of the lenders will not do that if you continue making payments. However, that's a possibility. So use it as a short-term solution. Don't use it for long-term. Jackie, I didn't understand why we need a separate document for the option and the lease. Well, most of the time, the documents I see lease option, when it's one document, it makes the exercising the option contingent upon the lease, of you performing the lease. Meaning, if you stop payments, if you stop paying your rent, you lose your option in your option money. It's better to have two documents, one straight lease and one option. So even if something should happen and you stop payment or you stop paying your rent, that option is still valid and you can assign it, you can sell it to somebody, so you don't have to lose your option money. So don't make it contingent upon performance of the lease. Chris is asking, you didn't mention the sandwich lease option in yesterday video. Does it work? Sandwich works. Actually, it does work, but I cannot tell you how many things can go wrong with this sandwich lease. And since I didn't explain it, what sandwich lease is, lease option, you lease option the property from the seller, and then you find a buyer tenant who is going to lease option from you. So in fact, you're dealing with two leases and two options. Now, what happens if your buyer stops paying rent and okay, they lose their option, but you're responsible for vacancies because you still have the lease. You're responsible for vacancies. You're responsible for damages. That's all on you. So I think it could work. It works for some people, but it's way too difficult for somebody who is not familiar with property management. For a beginner, I would not recommend this strategy. I mean, you may be not a beginner in property management, so why not try? Sorten is asking, why not try wholesaling? There is nothing to lose. And yes, on the surface, there is absolutely nothing to lose. I mean, wholesaling, you go find property at 50% of market price and then resell it to another investor. And truly, the only thing you can lose is if you pay deposit. And some people say they don't pay deposit. Now, I have never done that, so I cannot tell you if that's you can buy a property without putting a deposit. I would not say it's impossible. I've never done it without deposit. So the problem with wholesaling is I have nothing against wholesaling. It's a completely valid option to make money. However, the skills that are required are you need to know what the property is worth. You need to be able to negotiate a very deep discount. And you need to know what the repairs are going to be. So all of these skills you need to have in order to do successful wholesaling. In addition, you need to have access to money to market unless you're very skilled and comfortable doing cold calling. You will need money to market so you can get deals. So, in as I mentioned, in wholesaling, you are competing with a lot of big players. You're competing with iBuyers currently that have a lot of money behind them. So, could it work? Yeah, you could. Um, Jackie, I'm interested in assisted sale. Can you give me an example? So, assisted sale, an example would be a seller who has his property for sale, let's say $200,000, and the property is in bad condition. So, they have two options. One is to sell in as is proper condition and sell it at way below market price. And the other one would be to reduce their price. And you coming in with assisted sale, you can tell them, hey, I can sell your property. I can give you more money than you would get in as is condition if you give me some time. So basically, if this property would sell, for example, for $300,000, and the repairs, let's say, cost 225,000, you can offer the seller 220,000. So they will be getting about 20,000 more than they would in if they sell it outright. So why not say yes and wait for you to fix it and sell it? So this is a good option, especially if you're a contractor, if you have the skills, because it will cost you less to fix the property as well. But you don't have to. You can use it in and to make it completely no down payment. You can use joint ventures for the repair money. So I hope that answered your question. Jackie, is also what kind of contract can you use with assisted sale? Well, one way you can structure this is you can offer them an option. Let's say the property is listed at 200,000, and you can sell it after you do some repairs. You can sell it at 300,000. You can give them an option for 220,000, and just the option may be for 3-4 months, depending on how long you think the repair is going to take. So an option, but there are other ways you can structure this. Option is probably the best. Okay. Chris is saying thank you, and Sorten is saying thank you. And I don't see any other questions here. I'll wait a few seconds. So sometimes there is a delay. So if you are listening to this, and if you watching the if you participate in the 90 days challenge, you can send me your questions by email, and I'll answer them. The My email is about us in the about us section. So I guess that's it for today. Thank you for listening, and I'll talk to you next Saturday.